welcome back to Madrona's Pulse Teachings. I'm Iris, and I'm going to chat with you about the energies of our Libra Equinox, which is September 22nd, so very soon, and how this really lays the groundwork. The chart of the equinox moment when the sun enters Libra is important because it does set some of the tone, we can say, for the next 3 months, where we kind of have this cycle of when the sun moves into the cardinal signs, so Libra, and then it will move into Capricorn, and that will be our next solstice. And then it will move into Aries, and then it will move into Cancer, and then it will move into Libra. So that's the cycle of the sun moving through those cardinal signs. And we're talking about cycles that have been celebrated in human history for thousands and thousands of years. And so there is really a nice practice of honoring and working with the energies of these charts, whether it's solstice or in this case equinox. And so we are having our equinox signaling in the northern hemisphere that we are coming into autumn, and you folks in the southern hemisphere moving into spring. And this is, of course, when we have an equal day of light and dark, when we have equal time in this little moment of really representing, some of those Libra qualities of harmony, equanimity, really coming into a moment. And then from that moment in the northern hemisphere, we are moving into more darkness every day. And you in the southern hemisphere are going to move towards more light. And this chart is very interesting. And also, this is, of course, happening right in between our eclipses. So we have just had our lunar eclipse, our Pisces lunar eclipse, and now we're moving towards our Libra eclipse, which is going to be on October 2nd, and that is going to be a solar eclipse, so the sun and the moon will be together at 10 degrees of Libra. So this equinox is also important because it helps us tune in to that kind of eclipse portal energy that we are in. We are in eclipse season. It is working with us. We are working with it. We are riding those waves. And there is actually quite, there might be quite a bit of Libra themes coming up over these next few weeks, especially as we approach that eclipse, which is going to really be asking us to really let go in kind of some of these final moments of letting go as that south node is approaching at the end of its journey in Libra, of any way that we have held ourselves back from really showing up honestly in one-on-one relationship. So much about Libra gets talked about the other person or about, relationship itself, but it really is about how we show up, about how we have been taught that we're able to show up or not show up and not show up fully as ourselves. And as we come into a Libra eclipse, and as that node finishes its journey through the south node, through Libra, through the south node, through its journey in Libra, which you have a few months left with, it really is opening us to just being honest in our one-on-one relationships. And sometimes we have to do that more with ourselves first. And sometimes we have to spend some time alone with ourselves so that we can kind of feel in to, oh yes, I said yes to that, but I really didn't want to do it. And we really need to be compassionate with ourselves when we fall into that, because it sounds easy to know what you want and to know what you don't want. And anyone that has a lot of Libra in their chart knows that that's not so easy. Choice is not so easy, especially when these complicated histories of our own embodied family histories, family relationships, childhoods, trauma, all of it, it's messy. And Libra doesn't always know how to work with the mess, because Libra does sometimes like things to be pretty. And Libra is sometimes on a journey to learn that there is so much beauty in the mess. There's a couple signs, Virgo can be another one, learning about how much beauty there is in the mess. And so let us talk a little bit about this chart. So, as you know, the sun comes into Libra, and this is on September 22nd at 8:43 a.m. Eastern Time. And like I said, when we look at this chart, it can be a moment for tuning in to some of the themes that are going to come up over the next 3 months. And these are also themes that are coming up as part of eclipse season, and eclipse season does also set the tone for the next, usually we say 6 months. Okay, so we're always in cycles with astrology. And what's, probably there's 2 things that are really significant in this kind of equinox chart. So one of them is that the sun, while it is in Libra, it is still talking to all the outer planets. It is still in a trine with Uranus, who's retrograde at 27 degrees of Taurus, and Pluto, who's retrograde still at the 29th degree of Capricorn. And it's opposite Neptune. Okay, so we still have a sun that is talking to all of the outer planets. We still have the awakening and the transforming and the spiritualizing in ways that we most likely feel, especially in our body, especially in our kind of intuition, especially in dreams, in those quiet moments when we're able to kind of detach from the daily grind and just feel into that spiritual presence of our being. That is when the sun is talking to all of those outer planets. And so we just know that we are undergoing a process that is most likely of great transformation. And so knowing that we're in a process, it is important, to notice, are new people coming into your life? Are new opportunities coming into your life? Are you letting go of some people in your life? Are you showing up at work differently? Are you wanting to change work? And really just paying attention, because this signals that we're in process. And there's some other stuff going on in this chart that really signals that we're in process of some potentially significant changes. Okay. And again, it's okay if we don't know where it's going, because the whole point of being in process is letting ourselves not need to know where it's going and having compassion with ourselves to simply experience and to simultaneously let go if there are relationships or just ways of being in relationship. That's the thing. Sometimes it's like a Libra eclipse and everyone's like, oh, all those relationships, they're gone. And that might happen. You might have a relationship and it's like, whoosh, cord is cut, it is gone. But it can also be much more subtle than that. And to be honest, Libra usually likes being a bit more subtle than that, because it could just be that we're showing up differently. Because the moment we show up differently, the moment we say, no, you actually can't talk to me like that, or sorry, but I just really need to say this, the relationship changes. And sometimes the person can change with us and then we grow together, and or maybe we spend less time in that relationship, right? But just knowing that these shifts are happening and they can be subtle. And of course, there can be those relationships that do this just end. And there can be those relationships that just bang, hi, I think I've known you for my whole life. Oh, it's probably because we've known each other in past lives, but here we are, let's go have fun, right? However that happens. Or here we are, let's go get to work, whatever's happening. So on the note of relationships, our ruler of Libra is Venus. And at the Equinox chart, Venus is at the 29th degree of Libra, and she is square Pluto at the 29th degree of Capricorn. So this is pretty significant. Firstly, Venus is first and foremost our values. And now in Libra, she is really how those values signal who we want to be in relationship with, also how we want to be in relationship with ourselves. And this is Libra energy. So again, Libra is about wanting justice. It is wanting love. It is wanting compassion and equanimity. It is wanting true equality for every single person in the kind of macro level idea of equality and justice. And then it is wanting one-on-one relationships where there is equality and there's peace. And that word peace, however, can get Libra into trouble, because Libra can get really busy trying to be the peacemaker. And doing that, it can forget about its own needs. It can forget about its own wants, and it can kind of shapeshift or go chameleon-like to try and keep the peace. And I always like to acknowledge that it's like this incredible survival mechanism. especially if we have to do that in childhood to survive traumatic experiences or environments. Also, if we have to do it just because we are marginalized in certain identities and we are navigating difficult social realities. And Libra says, and I need to honor myself. And I need to show that peace and compassion to myself so that we can have true balanced and harmonic relating. And so that Venus at the 29th degree of Libra is really wanting us to maybe let go of some of those patterns and those dynamics, and they might be coming up, okay? They might come up during the next week. They might come up as we're building towards that Libra eclipse. They might come up during the next few months, because again, this is kind of signaling the process that we're working on, and we're working on coming into more enlightened embodiments of being in relationship in ways that are truly harmonious for ourselves and others. Speaking of harmonious, I really hope that you can, like Toronto right now on a Friday evening when it is so noisy in those streets, there's been rock bands and like cars. And so if you're picking up on this not so harmonious music soundscape, I apologize, but I have to film this now. So, and what is also really interesting is later on, still on Equinox, on the same day, Venus is going to move into Scorpio. So then she goes into the deep dive. And so she moves from this kind of trying to be in this one-on-one dynamic, trying to have balance, into the deep dive plunge into let's go get into the mess and figure it out and see where my kind of mushy and cold bits that I haven't really looked at in a while are, because I need to look at those, because Scorpio is all about intimacy. And Venus in Scorpio is all about having values that can come into a really incredible, delicious intimacy. And that said, it usually gets a little messy getting there, right? But the thing about Scorpio is Scorpio doesn't experience boundaries in relationship through like this nice intellectual idea and then have an idea of, no, that's my boundary. Scorpio is experiential. Scorpio has to experience, okay, that was me being taken beyond a boundary that I'm comfortable with, or, oh, that was me having too much power. Scorpio has to feel it out and experience it. And so Venus moves into that Scorpionic energy the same day. And of course, it's still squaring Pluto, okay, as it moves. And so Pluto is the death and rebirth cycle. And Pluto is on its own major death and rebirth cycle in Capricorn. And so also, there could be something about whatever's coming up in these moments in our one-on-one spheres, or even just how we want to hold ourselves, that also wants to align to the way that we are letting go any outdated embodiments, appropriations of ideas of authority, power over, that we were taught, that it was all about climbing that social ladder, that it was all about just having more and more and more. I was just teaching a course on the environment, and we were talking about how interesting is it that in Western society we're taught to kind of have this like lustful gaze over those who have more of this, more of that, more of that. And what do you know? All of those things are detrimental to the environment. And yet that's capitalism, and that's consumerism, and that is Scorpio, that is Capricorn when it's taken to a place that Capricorn doesn't necessarily as an archetype that's kind of an enlightened even necessarily want to go, because Capricorn wants to be so in tune to natural orders and rhythms and power balances, and really in that respect wants to work with a power, what we call a power with model. And so that's Pluto is finishing out, really asking us, before we have to go learn about all of our Aquarian kind of fear-driven ways, we're getting rid of the Capricorn ones. And it's in this moment of, in the eclipse portal, as we come into Equinox, that Venus speaks with Pluto. And it is very much something that's being cleared out. It is very much like getting the decay out, the decay that just, scoop it out. I don't need to show up in one-on-one relationships like that. I want to value myself. And therefore, by valuing myself, I know how I want to feel when others value me, and that I deserve that because that's what I believe others deserve. And so those are some of the themes that could be coming up as we move through this moment. There also is two other things I'm just going to mention, because in this equinox moment, Saturn is opposite Vesta. So Saturn is there retrograde in Pisces, clearing out our Pisces realms. And Vesta, the goddess of the sacred hearth, is in Virgo, and she's at home in Virgo, and she's deeply devoted. She's deeply devoted to tending the sacred fires of the mind-body connection. She's deeply devoted to being of service to her own fires of her sacred sexuality and her sacred creativity, so that they can then be of service to others. And there is potential to come into some really devotional spiritual alignment, so keeping that in mind, that especially if you are having one-on-one dynamics where you are having to kind of clear or let go, and if that is also bringing up some grief, also knowing that there is this Vesta Saturn conversation that is wanting to bring in a devotional cleansing to our own spirituality and being of service to ourselves and nurturing those creative fires within, so that we can have a more balanced life. And from that place of balance, really find compassion and harmony and peace. And also, Mars in Cancer is opposite Ceres. And Ceres is just always here with us, always drumming that sacred drum, always here with this sacred Earth Mother wisdom and energy, reminding us she is going to be square the solar eclipse on October 2nd. So, I mean, she has been with us for months and months, and here at Equinox, she's opposite Mars. And this is a reminder about nurturing ourselves. This is a reminder about active care through active surrender and active rest, and really allowing ourselves to recognize how nurturing and being active in our self-care and self-love is part of embodying deep wisdom, and also slowing down. Mars in Cancer has to learn to slow down, and the way that slowing down can actually allow realignment to come in. Slowing down can also align our kind of mind and body in a way that we move through more of we move at more of a mindful pace. And with Ceres here, that by doing that, we are also nurturing ourselves, that we are also giving ourselves what we need. And so during this week, in this eclipse portal, if you feel that you need to slow down, if you feel that you need to turn into a little bit more self-care, really doing that, because from that self-care place, whatever that looks like for you, you might, firstly, you might allow some of those, oh, hi, I just met this new person who feels like an old person because we were both in this moment of self-care, or I just, it's slowing down and listening to the intuition and coming into those other rhythms that are not about go, 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 climb, 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 accomplish, accomplish, accomplish. There is really a lot of energy here that's about to slow down so that we can release. And by releasing, we open up to the new. And also seeking balance, because this is an equinox moment when we're coming into that balance moment. And now as I'm finishing, it's so quiet outside. It just works like that, doesn't it? All right, folks, it's so nice to see you, and equinox blessings and eclipse blessings, because we're heading into our next eclipse, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.